Have you ever wondered just how much money the stars of Hollywood's golden age were really making? The ones whose names still echo through time, whose faces lit up the silver screen, and whose glamour defined an entire era. Well, prepare to be shocked, because some of these legendary actors and actresses weren't just popular. They were insanely wealthy, living lifestyles most of us could only dream of. From silent film icons to talkies' biggest box office draws, these 13 stars managed to turn their talent, charm, and sometimes cunning business moves into fortunes that made them some of the richest people of their generation. Take Charlie Chaplin, for example, whose iconic character, the tramp, earned him more money than most governments at the time. Or Mary Pickford, a co-founder of United Artists, who negotiated deals that would leave even today's A-list actors stunned. Then there's Douglas Fairbanks, Clark Gable, Greta Garbo, and the unforgettable Betty Grable, all of whom commanded salaries that could rival modern celebrities' earnings. And let's not forget Cary Grant, Bette Davis, Joan Crawford, Harlow, Pola Negri, Humphrey Bogart, and James Stewart, stars who didn't just shine on screen, but also amassed fortunes behind the scenes through savvy contracts, smart investments, and unparalleled popularity. In this video, we're going to take a deep dive into their staggering wealth, revealing the shocking numbers, luxurious lifestyles, and jaw-dropping stories that show just how golden the golden age of Hollywood really was. So sit back, because the wealth, glamour, and power of these 13 iconic stars will blow your mind. By the end, you'll see that these legends weren't just Hollywood royalty. They were living proof that stardom could turn talent into unimaginable riches. Star 1, Charlie Chaplin. When you think of the golden age of Hollywood, one name immediately jumps out: Charlie Chaplin. He wasn't just a comedian. He was a genius who changed cinema forever. But what's even more astonishing than his talent is just how rich he became. Chaplin was earning astronomical sums at a time when the world was still recovering from war. His silent films weren't just hits. They were global phenomena. He didn't just act. He wrote, directed, produced, and even composed music for his films. And he cleverly retained ownership of his movies, a decision that would make him one of the wealthiest entertainers in history. By the late 1920s, Chaplin's fortune had reached levels most people couldn't even imagine. To put it into perspective, he was making more money per film than entire studios were spending to produce them. His iconic character, the tramp, became a worldwide symbol of humor, resilience, and creativity. But behind the mustache was a man whose business acumen matched his artistic genius. With his earnings, Chaplin lived a life of luxury, owning grand estates in both America and Europe, traveling on private yachts, and enjoying the finest cars and fashion. Yet, despite his enormous wealth, Chaplin remained committed to his art. He took risks other actors couldn't, producing films with political commentary, social satire, and deep human emotion, all while earning a fortune most could only dream of. His money didn't just make him rich, it gave him freedom, influence, and the ability to leave a legacy that lasts even today. Charlie Chaplin wasn't just a Hollywood star, he was an empire all by himself. From silent screens to international fame, his wealth and genius still leave us in awe, proving that the right combination of talent, creativity, and business sense can turn artistry into unimaginable riches. Star 2, Mary Pickford. Mary Pickford wasn't just America's sweetheart. She was a powerhouse whose influence and fortune shocked the world. At a time when actors were often underpaid, Pickford rewrote the rules, proving that talent combined with business savvy could create unimaginable wealth. She wasn't only acting, she was producing, directing, and most importantly, co-founding United Artists alongside Charlie Chaplin, Douglas Fairbanks, and D.W. Griffith. This bold move allowed her to control her career, negotiate contracts directly, and earn a cut of every project she touched. By the 1920s, Mary Pickford was among the highest-paid entertainers in history, making millions per year, a fortune so vast that it rivaled some of the wealthiest industrialists of her time. But it wasn't just the money, it was how she used it. She bought luxurious estates, including her famous Pickford mansion in Beverly Hills, which became a hub for Hollywood royalty. Pickford also invested wisely, ensuring her wealth would grow long after her final film. Beyond the numbers, her success sent a powerful message. Women could dominate Hollywood, not just in front of the camera, but behind it too. Her films captivated audiences worldwide, from innocent love stories to more daring dramas, and her name alone could guarantee a box office hit. Mary Pickford's fortune wasn't just a result of luck, it was strategy, talent, and fearlessness. In an era when many actors had little say over their careers, Pickford became a trailblazer, proving that you could be glamorous, beloved, and shocking rich all at once. Today, her legacy continues, not just in film history, but as a symbol of empowerment, wealth, and vision, a true golden age icon whose riches and influence were as monumental as her talent. Star 3. Douglas Fairbanks. Douglas Fairbanks was Hollywood's original action hero, a man whose charisma, athleticism, and charm lit up the silver screen. But what might surprise you even more than his on-screen stunts is just how wealthy he became. In an era when actors were often at the mercy of studios, Fairbanks wasn't just performing. He was shaping the industry itself. Alongside Charlie Chaplin, Mary Pickford, and D.W. Griffith, Fairbanks co-founded United Artists, giving himself unprecedented control over his films and contracts. This bold move meant that he wasn't just earning a salary. He was owning the films he starred in, ensuring massive profits flowed directly to him. At the peak of his career in the 1920s, Fairbanks was earning fortunes that would make today's top stars look modest in comparison. His films, like The Mark of Zorro and The Thief of Baghdad, were international sensations, pulling in huge box office returns and cementing his status as Hollywood royalty. But Douglas Fairbanks didn't just spend his wealth on luxury, though he certainly did that, owning grand estates, yachts, and expensive cars. He also invested in the future of cinema. His mansion, Pickford, became a legendary gathering place for Hollywood's elite, a symbol of both influence and success. Fairbanks' fortune was the product of talent, timing, and shrewd business decisions, proving that action stars could be more than just heroes on screen. They could also be titans off it. By combining physical prowess, star power, and entrepreneurial insight, Fairbanks built an empire that made him one of the richest and most admired figures of the golden age of Hollywood. Even today, his legacy reminds us that wealth and influence in Hollywood aren't just about fame. They're about vision, strategy, and daring to take control of your career. Douglas Fairbanks wasn't just a star. He was a phenomenon whose fortune was as legendary as his adventures. Star 4. Clark Gable. Clark Gable, famously known as the King of Hollywood, wasn't just a leading man. He was a box office powerhouse whose salary and wealth stunned the world. In the 1930s and 40s, Gable commanded top-dollar contracts, earning sums that most people could only dream of. His performances in iconic films like Gone with the Wind didn't just make him famous. They made him extremely rich. But it wasn't just his talent that brought in the money. Gable had a shrewd sense of business and knew how to negotiate deals that ensured he received a share of the profits. During his peak, he was earning hundreds of thousands of dollars per film, which in today's money translates to millions. Beyond the screen, Gable invested wisely in real estate and other ventures, securing his wealth for the long term. His luxurious lifestyle included elegant homes, expensive cars, and trips around the world, reflecting both his fame and fortune. Yet, Clark Gable's wealth wasn't purely for extravagance. It was a tool that allowed him to choose projects he cared about, maintain independence from studio pressures, and cement his legacy as one of Hollywood's most bankable stars. Fans adored him for his charm, charisma, and rugged good looks, but studios respected him for his ability to pull massive audiences and generate staggering profits. Gable's fortune wasn't just a number. It was a testament to his power, influence, and foresight in an era when few actors could control their careers. By the time he became a global icon, Clark Gable had proven that stardom, talent, and business savvy could combine to create an almost unimaginable fortune. Today, he remains one of the best examples of golden age Hollywood glamour, success, and the shocking wealth that came with it. Clark Gable wasn't just a movie star. He was a financial legend whose riches matched his fame. Star 5. Greta Garbo. Greta Garbo, a name that still evokes mystery, glamour, and sheer talent. Known as the Divine Garbo, she wasn't just an actress whose face lit up the screen. She was one of the highest-paid stars of her era, with a fortune that would shock even today's audiences. Garbo's career in Hollywood's golden age was marked by intense popularity and critical acclaim, but what truly set her apart was her ability to command unprecedented salaries. Studios were eager to sign her, knowing that her presence alone could guarantee box office success. At her peak, Garbo earned up to $500,000 per film, a staggering sum in the 1920s and 30s, equivalent to millions today. But Garbo's wealth wasn't just about money. It was about independence and control. She carefully selected her roles, often taking months or even years to commit to a project, and used her leverage to negotiate contracts that maximized her earnings. Behind the camera, she lived a life of elegance and luxury, from her lavish estates in Hollywood to private retreats where she could escape the public eye. Despite the fortune, Garbo remained famously private, shunning publicity stunts and maintaining an air of mystique that only enhanced her legend. Her business sense, combined with her unmatched talent and enigmatic presence, made her a star whose wealth was as legendary as her films. From Anna Christie to Camille, Garbo's performances drew massive audiences, ensuring her place not just in cinematic history, but also on the list of Hollywood's richest and most influential stars. Greta Garbo proved that in the golden age, true wealth wasn't just about fame or glamour. It was about power, choice, and the ability to command the very best. Her fortune and influence still inspire awe, showing that a legendary career and shocking riches could go hand in hand. Star 6. Bette Grable. Bette Grable wasn't just Hollywood's ultimate pinup girl. She was one of the wealthiest and most beloved stars of the 1940s, with a fortune that still amazes historians today. Famous for her iconic legs and dazzling screen presence, Grable became a symbol of glamour and optimism during World War II, capturing the hearts of millions. But behind her charm and beauty was a savvy businesswoman who commanded top salaries, endorsements, and profit-sharing deals that made her one of the highest-paid actresses of her time. At her peak, she was earning hundreds of thousands of dollars per film, a staggering amount that, adjusted for inflation, would make her a multimillionaire today. Her films, like Mother Wore Tights and How to Marry a Millionaire, were guaranteed box office hits, giving studios and her alike massive profits. Beyond the screen, Grable enjoyed the lifestyle her wealth afforded: luxurious homes, designer wardrobes, and vacations that matched her star status. Yet, her success wasn't purely financial. It was also about influence. Grable used her fame and fortune to shape her career, taking control of her image, negotiating favorable contracts, and setting a standard for future stars. She also became a cultural icon, appearing in posters, advertisements, and morale-boosting promotions that cemented her legacy as a household name. Bette Grable's wealth, charm, and strategic mind made her more than just a movie star. She became a symbol of Hollywood's golden age, showing that talent and business acumen could create a fortune almost as dazzling as her smile. Today, she remains an enduring example of how charisma, talent, and financial savvy combined to make one of the most shockingly rich stars of her era, proving that in Hollywood, glamour and wealth often walked hand in hand. Star 7. Cary Grant. Cary Grant wasn't just one of the most charming men to ever grace the silver screen. He was also one of the smartest, richest, and most strategically powerful stars of Hollywood's golden age. While millions of fans saw him as the perfect gentleman in films like North by Northwest and His Girl Friday, behind the scenes Cary Grant was building a fortune that would make most celebrities jealous. During a time when studios controlled everything, Grant became one of the first major actors to break away from the old system and take control of his own career. Instead of accepting whatever salary was offered, he negotiated deals that gave him bigger paydays, better terms, and more freedom than most actors could even dream of. Grant wasn't just earning high fees, he was earning like a businessman. He demanded top billing, chose projects carefully, and built a reputation that made him almost impossible for studios to ignore. And as his popularity soared, so did his income. By his peak years, Cary Grant was making massive amounts per film, and what made it even more impressive was that his success lasted for decades. He didn't burn out quickly like many stars of the era. He stayed in demand, year after year, film after film, becoming a reliable box office winner and a true Hollywood institution. Star 8. Jean Harlow. Jean Harlow may have lived a tragically short life, But in that brief time, she managed to build a level of wealth and fame that stunned Hollywood. Known as the original blonde bombshell, Harlow exploded onto the screen in the early 1930s and quickly became one of MGM's most valuable assets. Her films weren't just popular, they were box office gold. Audiences were drawn to her bold personality, sharp wit, and unmistakable screen presence, and studios were more than willing to pay extraordinary sums to keep her under contract. At a time when many actresses were replaceable, Jean Harlow was indispensable. By the height of her career, Harlow was earning salaries that placed her among the highest-paid women in Hollywood. Each new film meant a larger paycheck, better perks, and stronger negotiating power. MGM invested heavily in her image, and that investment paid off massively. Movies like Red-Headed Woman, Dinner at 8, and Bombshell generated enormous profits, making Harlow not just a star, but a financial powerhouse. Off-screen, her wealth allowed her to enjoy a glamorous lifestyle filled with luxury homes, custom wardrobes, and elite social circles that matched her celebrity status. What makes Jean Harlow's story even more shocking is how quickly she achieved this level of success. In just a few years, she went from rising actress to one of the most bankable stars in Hollywood. Her earning power was growing rapidly, and many believed she was on track to become one of the richest actresses of the Golden Age. Sadly, her life was cut short at just 26 years old, leaving behind a legacy filled with what could have been. Even so, the fortune she accumulated in such a short time speaks volumes about her impact and value to the industry. Star 9, Pola Negri. Before Hollywood became the glossy empire we know today, Pola Negri was already living like royalty. She wasn't just a silent film star. She was one of the earliest international celebrities to turn fame into serious wealth. Born in Europe and rising to fame in Germany, Pola arrived in Hollywood with a reputation, confidence, and star power that immediately set her apart. And once she stepped onto the American scene, her fortune began to grow at a pace that shocked the industry. Pola Negri became a major silent-era sensation, known for her dramatic roles, magnetic screen presence, and glamorous personality. Studios didn't just want her, they needed her. She was the kind of star who could sell tickets simply with her name, and that made her incredibly valuable. At a time when many actors were paid modestly, Pola was earning top-level money for her era, and she enjoyed all the luxuries that came with it. She lived in lavish homes, wore extravagant fashion, traveled in style, and surrounded herself with an elite lifestyle that matched her image as a true diva of cinema. But what made her wealth even more fascinating was how she embraced fame as a full brand. Pola understood that being a star wasn't only about acting. It was about attention, mystery, and publicity. She became one of the first Hollywood figures to master celebrity culture, creating headlines, setting trends, and keeping the public completely obsessed. That level of fame brought more opportunities, bigger deals, and an income stream that went far beyond her film pay. Star 10, Bette Davis. Bette Davis wasn't just a Hollywood legend. She was a force of nature who turned talent into power, and power into serious wealth. While many Golden Age stars relied purely on beauty or studio hype, Davis built her fortune differently, through raw skill, fearless ambition, and a reputation that made her impossible to ignore. She didn't just act in movies, she dominated them. And because of that, she became one of the most valuable and highest-paid actresses of her time. In an era when studios tried to control every move an actress made, Bette Davis fought back. She demanded better roles, better pay, and better respect, and she actually got it. That kind of boldness wasn't common in classic Hollywood, especially for women, but Davis didn't care. She understood her worth and refused to settle for less. Films like Jezebel, Dark Victory, and All About Eve didn't just win awards and praise. They pulled in huge audiences, making Davis one of the most bankable stars in the industry. When she appeared in a film, people showed up. And when people showed up, the money followed. But what's truly shocking is that Davis didn't build wealth by being easy to manage. She built it by being unstoppable. Her strong personality and fierce standards sometimes clashed with studio executives, yet her talent was so undeniable that they kept paying her, again and again. She earned top salaries, lived in luxury, and maintained a lifestyle worthy of Hollywood royalty. But unlike some stars who spent wildly and burned through fortunes, Davis also treated her career like a long-term investment. She stayed relevant for decades, reinventing herself and refusing to fade away quietly. Star 11. Joan Crawford. Joan Crawford's rise to shocking wealth is one of the most dramatic success stories in Hollywood's golden age. She didn't come from privilege. She built her empire from the ground up. Starting her career as a dancer, Crawford worked relentlessly to climb the studio ladder, and by the 1930s, she had transformed herself into one of the most powerful and highest-paid actresses in the world. Her films weren't just popular, they were guaranteed moneymakers, and studios knew that attaching her name to a project meant strong box office returns. At her peak, Joan Crawford commanded enormous salaries, rivaling and sometimes surpassing her contemporaries. Movies like Grand Hotel, Mildred Pierce, and Possessed made massive profits, and Crawford made sure she was rewarded accordingly. She wasn't afraid to fight for her value, negotiating contracts that reflected her star power. But her wealth didn't come only from acting. Crawford was a master at branding long before the word became popular. She endorsed products, appeared in advertisements, and carefully managed her public image to stay relevant year after year. Her financial intelligence extended beyond Hollywood. Crawford invested wisely, managed her income carefully, and maintained a luxurious lifestyle that symbolized success rather than excess. Elegant homes, designer fashion, and high society connections were all part of her world. Yet what made her wealth truly remarkable was its longevity. While many Golden Age stars faded and struggled financially, Crawford adapted, reinvented herself, and continued earning well into later stages of her career. Star 12. Humphrey Bogart. Humphrey Bogart wasn't just a movie star. He was an icon who turned tough guy charisma into a fortune that shocked the industry. With his unmistakable voice, sharp delivery, and fearless screen presence, Bogart became one of the most bankable leading men of Hollywood's golden age. But what many people don't realize is that his rise to serious wealth didn't happen overnight. Bogart spent years grinding through smaller roles before finally breaking through. And once he did, the money started pouring in. His big turning point came in the early 1940s when he became the face of hard-hitting dramas and unforgettable classics. Films like Casablanca, The Maltese Falcon, and To Have and Have Not didn't just make history, they made enormous profits. And as Bogart's popularity exploded, so did his salary. Studios knew audiences trusted him, admired him, and kept coming back to watch him. That kind of star power meant he could command top-level pay, securing contracts that reflected his ability to carry a film. During his peak years, Bogart was earning hundreds of thousands of dollars per movie, which would be worth millions today. But Bogart's wealth wasn't only about earnings. It was about prestige, control, and long-term value. As his name became a symbol of quality, he gained the freedom to choose stronger roles and work alongside the best directors and co-stars in Hollywood. Off-screen, he lived a life of luxury that matched his reputation. Beautiful homes, expensive cars, private getaways, and the kind of lifestyle reserved for true Hollywood royalty. Yet he wasn't a flashy celebrity chasing attention. Bogart carried himself with quiet power, which only added to his legend. Star 13. James Stewart. James Stewart wasn't just one of Hollywood's most beloved leading men. He was also one of the smartest earners the Golden Age ever produced. On screen, Stewart had that rare quality audiences trusted instantly. He looked honest, sounded sincere, and carried a quiet strength that made people root for him in every film. But behind that humble image was a man who understood the business side of Hollywood better than most. And that's exactly how he became shockingly rich. Unlike many stars who relied only on studio salaries, James Stewart was one of the first major actors to use a strategy that would later become normal for modern celebrities, taking a smaller upfront payment in exchange for a share of the profits. This was a game-changing move. Because Stewart's films were massive hits, those profit deals turned into huge paydays that often exceeded what other actors were making. It wasn't just smart, it was revolutionary. And it made Stewart one of the best-paid stars in the entire industry without constantly needing record-breaking salaries. Films like It's a Wonderful Life, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, and his collaborations with Alfred Hitchcock turned Stewart into a box office favorite. Studios knew his name meant quality, meaning audiences would show up, and when audiences showed up, the profits exploded. Stewart's career lasted for decades, and that long-term success gave him something many stars never achieved: financial stability that kept growing year after year.